Good morning, everyone. We are the group 3, and today we will gonna discuss the foundational literacy and Friedrich Froebel. So, what is foundational literacy? So, foundational literacy or literacy is a critical foundation of education across cultures, countries, and people. Since ensuring that all people have access to literacy is so vital, researchers have invested considerable collective time and effort in studying how students learn to read and what teachers can do help them learn to read better. So before, our parents is pursuing us on how to learn. They are eager to teach us the basics, especially the alphabets, the vowels, and through that, uh, and as time goes by, while we are still practicing those teachings that we get, we are ready or we are going to be equipped when we go to school. I remember when I was a kinder, my parents told me how to write my name, how to speak my name, and how to introduce my name whenever my teacher will gonna call me. So through that, it really a big help for me to overcome those simple problems because in that stage or in that stage we are just developing our social relationship to others. So let's proceed. And in a space where the stakes are so high and the investment is so large, the sheer amount of a research and something conflicting best practices gleaned from that research can be very overwhelming to navigate as an educator with a full-time schedule of classes. As a learning science company, we believe that research on teaching and learning should be accessible and, when possible, digestible for all educators to both understand and implement. So, as a future educator, we must do our best to teach our children, especially for those students who cannot cope up easily. We can extend our time and also our effort to reach them, for them to not be left behind. So, as a teacher, we should do our best to help them, for them to be able to cope up and for them to be enhance their skill also, and through that we can be a remarkable to them. These processes form the research foundation behind our wonders. Programming serve as the backbone for that particular program's pedagogical structure. As such, they align to an approach to literacy instruction that is based upon what we know about learning happens. Reading in relation to the brain and what researchers have been able to learn about literacy instruction from working with teachers and students. So, in our time, we all know that we as teachers is just facilitators to them, but we should not stick on that concept. Why? Because we as teachers are also responsible for them to learn not only what they have going to learn in school, but they how can they uh, what how can they learnings can be used in a real life. So we can be an encouragement from for them. We can be on uh, a good model for them to be inspired on what they are doing or what they are going through. I remember when I was in junior high and senior high, all of my teachers influence me or they keep inspiring me. So that's why I pursue this course because of them. Yes, because of them, I've learned that teaching is not just a profession, but teaching is you can enjoy and you can cherish those memories that you can share to those students.
What is speaking and listening? Speaking and listening supports development of other literacy skills such as text comprehension and writing. Because when you read, it seems like you are already listening to what you are reading. When you write, it seems like you are already speaking. All literacy supports each other. Okay, next. Speaking and listening can also be referred to as oral language. And when we think of language, we should think beyond just word. Not only do we say one word, but it is important that we know the meaning of a word. We must know the importance on how we can express it correctly, because sometimes there are problems on how we express a word. Okay, next. Language is a complex communication system that includes verbal and nonverbal messages, graphics, and images. From the word verbal, it is the use of words to share information with other people. It can therefore include both spoken and written communication. However, many people use the term verbal to describe only spoken communication. Okay? Nonverbal, such as facial expression, eye or body movement, like what gesture, and many more without speaking. Okay, next. Language skills are necessary for successful reading comprehension, and reading comprehension is necessary for successful learning, especially in the latter grades. Okay, you if you have the skills to read the different languages, when you read, you will no longer have difficulty understanding what you are reading. And if you are used to reading, it will be easier for you to learn. If you know the certain language of community or a specific language of group of people, you will understand them more. Okay, what skills are involved in speaking and listening? Okay, oral language allows students to perform a number of skills that are critical to further stages of literacy development. Oral language involves communicating, understanding words or concepts, obtaining new information, and expressing thoughts. Okay, from God, Son, and Laser. Okay, generally, oral language is divided into two types. Okay, receptive language and expressive language. Simply put, okay, receptive language is a language that students hear and understand. Okay, whereas expressive language, it is that which they generate, speak, and write. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, so I proceed to Friedrich Froebel. Friedrich Froebel was born in 1782 and he was died in 1852. Friedrich Froebel is a German educator that is significant for developing an idealist philosophy of early childhood education, and he was known because he is the founder and he is established the kindergarten, a school for 4 and 5 years old that is found not only here in the Philippines but found worldwide. Friedrich Froebel was the youngest of 5 sons of Johann Jacob Froebel, a Lutheran pastor at Oberweisbach in Germany. And when he was young, he had an unhappy childhood because he felt neglected by his stepmother and father. And he attended the girls' primary school at Oberweisbach from 1793 to 1798. He lived with his maternal uncle because, like what I said earlier, he felt neglected by his stepmother and by his father. That's why he lived with his maternal uncle, which is Hermann Hauptmann or Herr Hauptmann. where he attended the local town school. From the years 1798 to 1800, he was as an apprentice to a forester and surveyor in Newhouse. From 1800 to 1802, Froebel attended the University of Jena.
Good day to everyone. This is Don Cortez, and my topic that the topic that assigned to me about Friedrich Froebel biography. Friedrich Froebel is a German educator that signifies his for developing and creating an idealist philosophy for early childhood education, and which establishing the kindergarten in the schools to the schools exclusively for the ages of ranges 4 to 5 years old. So let us have now the biography. Friedrich Wilhelm August Froebel is the youngest among five sons of Johann Jacob Froebel, a Lutheran pastor, and in the German Principality of Schwarzburg, Rudolfstadt. Because of in his early age, he feeling neglected by his stepmother and father, so that Froebel is experiencing a fondly unhappy childhood, and because of this, at his father's insistence, he attended the girls' primary school in their hometown in Oberwesbach, and later on 1793 to 1798, he lived with his maternal uncle in Stadlim, which he attended the local town school, because in their hometown they studying or he informally studying in the girls' primary school, which exclusively to the girls. And from 1798 to 1800, he was an apprentice to our forester and surveyor in Naus. And from 1800 to 1802, Froebel attended the University of Jena. And his studies is provided him with a sense of artistic perspective and symmetry, and later on transferred to his design on the kindergarten's gift and occupations, which the other presenters will explain about his theory about early childhood, especially on the kindergarten approach. To prepare him as a teacher, Groner arranged for Froebel for 24 years old and take a short course with Johann Heinrich Pestalozzi, Pestalozzi, uh, Pestalozzi at Yverdon. Froebel believed Pestalozzi's respect for, for the dignity of children, and creation, learning environment, and emotional security were highly significant educational elements that he wanted to incorporate in his own teaching. And because of he inspired, Froebel inspired the vision of his classmate and a good friend, Johann Heinrich Pestalozzi. This is the reason why Friedrich Froebel made a theory for the children, for the early childhood education, especially in the kindergarten. And because of this, he was also intrigued by Pestalozzi form, number, and name lessons,
which would form a basis for his later design of the kindergarten gifts. Because Pestalozzi form is exclusive on form, number, and name lessons, but the informations or the pattern of teaching techniques in especially in early literature in the kindergarten is not totally stabilized or established, so that Friedrich Froebel made this theory for the kindergarten gifts or for the kindergarten design. After his training with Pestalozzi, Froebel taught at Groner's Model School until he returned to Everdon in 1808 for two more years of study with Pestalozzi. Here, his theory was initially constructed. He was now trying to experiment or made an experiment if if his theory is similar or interconnected to the Pestalozzi design, so that in this theory, Friedrich Froebel, we also conclude that the Pestalozzi design and Froebel's design are interconnected, and also may be considered continuation for improving kindergarten gifts, which the other presenter will be discussed about the more information about the theory of Friedrich Froebel and what is talking about and what is center of. And that is all my report. This is Don Cortez.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today we talk about Friedrich Froebel, 782-1852. From 1810 to 1812, Froebel studied languages and science at the University of Göttingen. He hoped to identify linguistic structures that could be applied to language instruction. He became particularly interested in geology and mineralogy. From 1808 to 1810, Froebel attended the training institute run by Johann Pestalozzi at Yverdon. Froebel left the institution accepting the basic principle of Pestalozzi's theory: permissive schools, atmosphere, emphasis on nature, and the object lesson. Froebel, however, was the strong idealist whose view of education was closely related to religion. He believed that everything in this world was developed according to the plan of God. He felt that something was missing in Pestalozzi's theory. The spiritual mechanism, that according to Froebel was the foundation of early learning. Pestalozzi takes man, the 16, on the appearance on earth, said, "But if I take man in his eternal being, in his eternal existence." Froebel's philosophy of education rested on four basic ideas. The first is free self-expression. Second, creativity. The third, social participation. The fourth, motor expression. From 1812 to 1816, Froebel studied mineralogy with Professor Christian Samuel Weiss, 780 and 1856 at the University of Berlin. From 1811, Froebel studies at the University of Göttingen. From 1812, Froebel in Berlin studies mineralogy under the Weiss and jurisprudence under Savigny. Froebel believed the process of crystallization, moving from the simple to complex, reflected universe's cosmic law that also govern human growth and development.
From April 1813 to 1814, with other Berlin students, Froebel joined the famous volunteer corps of Lotzow's Black Riflemen. In the Prussians' army against Napoleon, he met the two friends who were to remain with the throughout his lifetime and to support him in all educational endeavors, Najensal and Medender. After the close of the war, Pruebel claimed the fulfillment of the promise made to him of an appointment in the mineralogical museums at the Berlin and resumed his studies there, but always with the object completing his own fitness for an educator. And when offered valuable posts and neurologists at the Stockholm, he declared it has foreign to his educational purpose. In 1816, Froebel established the Universal German Educational Institute at the Grieshelm. He moved the institute to Kelhu in 1870, where it functioned until 1829. 1860, Froebel founded the Universal Education Institute at Dresden. In 1817, he moved the schools to Kiel, who is joined by his friends Heinrich Lagental and Wilhelm Medendorf. From 1818, from 1818, Froebel married Henrietta Wilhelm Hofmeister 780 in 1839, who assisted him until her death. In 1831, Froebel established an institute at Wartensee on Lake Sempak in Switzerland and then relocated the schools to Wilsow. Froebel next operated an orphanage and boarding the school of Borndorf. From 1829, publication of Principles and Inner Life of, of the Universal German Education Institute of Kelku. From 1826, Froebel published his first book, Education of Man, which was translated in English in 1885. Froebel designed a large block of 500 wooden blocks based on the 1-inch cube, including square columns between 2 and 12 inches long. Froebel was concerned the existence of building blocks, discouraged discovery and creativity because they were highly decorated, realistic, and lacked mathematical or geometrical logic. Froebel also used these blocks and Kelhu to teach mathematics. Froebel returned to Germany, where in 1837 he established a new type of early childhood schools, a childgarten or kindergarten, for 3 and 4-year-old children. Using play songs, stories, and activities, the kindergarten was designed as an educational environment in which children, through their own self-activity, could develop in the right direction. From 1837, after a brief stay in Berlin, Froebel moved to Blankenberg and near Rudolstadt and early childhood education. His Play Activity Institute features games, play, songs, stories, and crafts to stimulate imagination and develop the physical and motor skills. The materials in the room were divided the two categories: gifts given in German, and occupation or activities. Gifts were objects that were fixed in form such as blocks. The purpose was that in playing with the object, the child would learn the underlying concept is represented by the object consisted of material that children could shape and manipulate such as paper, clay, and shapes, beds and strings, etc. There was underlying the symbolic meaning in all that was done. Even clean up was seen as a final concrete reminder to the child of God, plan, moral, and social order. This is the end of my report. Thank you.
So now let us proceed from Froebel's kindergarten philosophy. So Froebel shaped his educational philosophy during the high tide of German philosophical idealism that was marked by the work of Johann Gottfried Herder, 1744 and 1803. Immanuel Kant, 1724 to 1804, and George Wilhelm Hegel, 1770 to 1831. So, in the Education of Man, 1826, Froebel articulated the following idealist theme. Number one, that all existence originates in and with God. So, he aligned that into the Word of God, like what uh, in the Bible, that all of the man was created by the Lord, and the man is uh, like an image of God. So he originates it, or he connected it into the Word of God, or into God with it. So number two is the human. Humans possess an inherent spiritual essence that is a vitalizing life force that causes development. So, he included that as a human, we also have our spiritual aspect that we call, and we are vitalizing a life force so that we can causes a development. So, as a kid, or as a young, or as a youth, we have a choice to do whatever we want, and for us also to be able to develop our self, our characteristics, our personalities. And number three, the last, is all beings and ideas are interconnected parts of a grand, ordered, and systematic universe. Froebel based in his work on these principles, asserting that each child at birth has an eternal spiritual essence, a life force that seeks. So he also believed that all beings, or the space, the universe, is all interconnected to each other. Why? Because he believed that God, according to the Bible, that God created the heaven and earth. So he believed that uh, the a human, the planet, the earth, the solar system, and the universe is interconnected. So all of this is all of these aspects is interconnected to each and everyone, or interrelated to each and everyone, that our life revolves around it. So thank you, and thank you for listening. God bless us all.